Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back for another recording session of Hearthstone. It'll be an interesting one today. I guess, obviously we tried in the 40 for something better. 30 Murlocs, 10 weapons, win 2 games with the Shaman or Warlock. Actually, we probably will make some decent progress because my Warlock, Murloc deck, nope. It isn't, is it? Why did I do that? Oh well, Murlocs begin. I guess play ranked? Let's see, what is this? A paladin, and we needed to get 2 victories with Warlock or Shaman, so we'll go ahead and play ranked. Here, it doesn't matter if we win or not. Now, the issue here is I don't have a ton of stuff to talk about. And frankly, even though there's one thing that a lot of people are talking about right now, I don't have the most amount of passion to speak on that subject too much, honestly. Not right now, at least, because it's kind of just happened, and for me and for you'll see these videos ridiculously long time later, so it may have already come and gone. That's kind of the danger of covering actual news versus video game news anyways, is that if I talk about something video game wise, it still happened and still was relevant when it occurred. If I talk about something that's just a talking point, or something that turns out to just be a talking point, although I doubt this subject is just a talking point, it's going to be so easily forgotten. Well, that was a quick victory, and nice, but doesn't help me much. So, I guess instead of dancing around the thing I don't want to talk about, and I'm mentioning it, we should just cover it at the beginning. The immigrant / Muslim ban, depending on which one you want to call it, it has rattled everybody. As an executive order, President Donald Trump, has banned people from several countries, and there's a lot of reaction to that, a lot of different ways that people responded to that, and it got everybody upset. Even a decent amount of people who would have been in favor of it, at least that's how the news is saying it, the news I'm seeing. So partially because like his argument now, we're right at the point where he's responded and said, I couldn't have done this and kept more people in the loop, because then it would have gotten leaked, and then all the bad people that I'm trying to keep out would have just come in before the ban was implemented, which is wrong in my opinion. I mean, because you could have easily said, we are going to have extreme scrutiny starting with this announcement, and then within the next month or so, we are going to move forward towards a complete and total ban. That would have worked. Somewhat, at least. I think I should play this. And then this lets me kill this. Do this. And then return. Some video game companies have jumped in there. Microsoft, a couple of independent peoples, and I just saw Insomniac came back and strongly took a stance against it. It seems like you're in danger of taking a stance of getting back, irritating some people. You're in danger if you don't take a stance. In fact, pretty much anything you can do seems to put you in danger. Ideally, as companies, they must, the companies that are taking a stance must see more potential lost profits in the ban staying in place versus what they might gain elsewhere. And there's certain different ways you could calculate that. For instance, if you are like Disney, who's really bad about hiring foreign workers on the visas and paying them below minimum wage and literally attempting to take jobs away from Americans, then yeah, the bans will certainly not help. Microsoft, in a lot of ways, does bring in a lot of foreign talent, but you would usually call it actual talent and not just simplistic things. Like, I don't think Microsoft is flying in people from India to do tech service. It's just too easy to do tech service in India directly. But they are flying people in from India to be high-level computer programmers. So, and that in itself has always been kind of a difficult thing that seems maybe they can manipulate it too, because you're supposed to somehow prove that there's nobody locally that could do the job, and that seems like that's gotten loosened and easier. The stock markets have taken a little bit of a tumble, but not anything too big. And just in general, I guess there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of reaction. It seems like there's definitely factions of people that will have the signs made up already. Anything Trump does, they're going to protest in massive protests, larger than we've ever seen before. A lot of people are unhappy. There's a lot of divide in the United States right now. I would say, though, the video game industry should just kind of try to stay out of it as much as possible, but there's certainly going to be, if all video games had to be made in the United States because they couldn't import video games from foreign countries, which because of like crazily high imposed import taxes, or just straight up a breakdown of a world economy, that would very much hurt the video game industries. If we got no games from Japan, because of that really hurts us. If we get no games from Europe, that really hurts us. If we get no games from any other country, probably not so much. There's certainly going to be some independent games and some diamonds in the rough, but like we occasionally get Chinese games, and they're usually grindy MMO things. And I was just thinking about how little China actually contributes to the video game industry, because they banned consoles for a very long time, and they limited or banned video game playing in different ways in China. So they're not up on that, which is maybe a good thing, arguably, because the last thing I'd want to see is the video game industry go the way the movie industry is going, where China has a active projects to hire big name people and have them work on Chinese movies and hire and buy and influence how movies in America are made. And so they're changing the artistic directions. This is why in like Rogue One, one can speculate that there's a Chinese character or Chinese looking character doing karate in the Star Wars movie, which actually isn't that strange, because a lot of the Jedi stuff. But specifically, we know that certain things the country of China doesn't want is getting edited out and not shot in films, and specific things that China does want is getting added to pander to a very large economy. And if we start seeing the similar things, the most noticeable of the things that you'll see go real fast is like skeletons, because Chinese people don't like skeletons. All of a sudden you'll start seeing that skeletons don't exist in the game. There goes Skyrim right there. Like the entire game of Skyrim you can't play Skyrim without skeletons. You'd have to reskin all the Draugr. And so it's kind of a good thing China hasn't in there, but that is part of a very big puzzle, very big juggling, balancing act of the world economy and working world economics. And theoretically, maybe we could all become self-sufficient, at least the first world countries, and we could say we don't really need to import anything from anybody, and we'll just have all of the jobs be created inside everyone's country. But in a lot of ways, automation is killing jobs more than a globalization, and it's two sides of the same coin, possibly. So globalization is a big issue, but that's not really going to help the economy, and that's what the video game industry should be aware of. To say, some of them are saying that like the companies have a moral stance and a code of ethics and all of that, and I'm like, no, you don't. Your moral stance, your charter in every company is to make the most amount of money as possible. It always has been, it always will be, until your company is a private company that doesn't have to answer to the shareholders. In the end, destroying the greed of shareholders is an Herculean effort, because that greed is the 1%, the richest, the 0.1% of people who are super greedy as individuals. Almost certainly the vast majority of them are. But it is also every single company that owns stocks in every other company, who they're trying to make their bottom line and pay their employees by owning stocks in other company, which is not a great way to run a business in the first place, and probably should be illegal. But it's also people that have retirement accounts. It's also people that have pensions. It's also people that even, in some ways, own bonds. Like, almost everybody, unless you honestly have no money to your name. If you have a retirement account, if you work for a company, if you have health insurance, car insurance, all of these companies are part of the collective greed of the stock market. And ideally, what we would do is we would force all companies to go private and just get rid of the stock market exchange completely. And that's kind of the only way you can get rid of the hidden spirit of greed that infests capitalism in the United States. Now, to get back to the immigration ban, politically and morally, almost everybody is going to say it was either implemented wrong or shouldn't have been done at all. So I don't even feel like I'm making a specific. I don't even really think I'm saying anything controversial there at all. People that would have been okay with a ban like this have said it's done so haphazardly. It's now just become this propaganda piece that has probably emboldened people who were against us so that they can recruit more people. So terrorist groups all over the world now can say the United States once again has done something awful and that the U.S. is the great Satan, which is all they ever say over and over again. Even the people who aren't, even the countries that aren't on the ban that pretend to be our friends still call us the great Satan. And it's a title that we're sadly earning more and more. I mean, even with Obama, we were doing drone strikes like crazy. We were missing people, from what I hear, a lot. We were doing a lot of casualties and helpless innocent bystanders.
My shield for Argus.
If this ban was maybe the first step to a true, just xenophobic isolationism, where we stopped interfering and causing damage to other countries, then maybe in some distant amount of time, assuming we don't end up in a war first, which almost certainly would happen way before then, I mean, maybe the U.S. could pull back from being militaristic and try to migrate into something like a pacifistic country and saying, look, we are just going to take care of ourselves and our economy. We're taking all of our troops away in a slow and planned way. If you want to enlist your people and build up your military, fine. Eventually that would get down to us probably just selling weapons to people, and then we'd have to be very fair about who we're selling weapons to, because we'd basically be selling to both sides, or we just stop making weapons altogether and just force them to fight with rocks and sticks, or, well, Russian weapons and Chinese weapons. So if there was if it felt for a second to me like there was actual thought in these actions, and it was going to try to get us to be less militaristic by protecting our borders, but it's not. It's absolutely not, because if this is the justification now to protect our borders, it just screams that next week he may very well try to make a justification that we need to attack everybody on that immigrant banned list, every single country, because they're now all pissed at us, and this is only going to escalate things. So, I mean, he's pushing us to a war, it seems to me, not away from a war.
I wonder.
And the fact that it's so unbalanced. Like, if I was the president, for some insane reason, and you were going to do a travel ban, you almost have to say, we're going to start a travel ban on all countries. We're going to reject the global economy completely. We're going to pull all Americans back into America. And we're going to be kind of like, I guess, North Korea, and just say, look, it's illegal to leave. You stay here, and that's it. But I would certainly say you got to ban them from every country, because the way this happens is it's not incredibly difficult to get into one country and then go from that country to our country. So because we haven't banned like people from the UK, people that are from the country that is banned, all they have to do is get a visa, or fake visa, or a real one from a different country, and travel to the UK, and then travel from the UK to the US. Still easily done. And all of this is done in this idea to save us from terrorist attacks. And kind of like the school shooting issue,
There's little time.
I, at this point, kind of have to say, you know what? Reality is, the number of school shootings, the number of terrorist attacks, they're not high. And they're not going up a lot. And they're not really maybe going down a lot either. But the number of these events, while they're sensationalized in the media and talked about and very, very difficult to deal with, they're not high. And if you live your life in fear of something that's highly unlikely to happen, for instance, if you're afraid of flying and your job or something else requires you to fly, you're really suffering and lowering your quality of life for a fear that is very low of happening. So, like, I would say let them come in. Do what we're doing, maybe make what we're doing more efficient and better as far as vetting and investigating. At the end of the day, most terrorist attacks are caused by, in America particularly, they're caused not even by small splinter cells of terrorist groups. They are caused by single groups of people, like 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 groups of people. It's pretty much only been the 9/11 attack, which was like 8 years ago. I should probably know how many years, but it's been a real long time that anybody has actually worked as a group to do any terrorist attack. Now it's just inspired people that really don't have any connection or anything to the groups. And a lot of them, if not most of them, if not all of them, came in way before they did their activity or were US citizens already. And so that's not the issue. It really isn't. It's really just pomp and circumstance, if you're going to use that statement. So that's going to be it for this recording. I've talked about one thing I really didn't even want to bother to talk about. Like I said, this may just be a talking point. For all I know, tomorrow there will be another thing Trump does that's even more important to look at and talk about, or he'll rescind it or change his mind. Trump has, from what I've heard, always had this negotiation style where he says one thing and does one thing, and then it's so outrageous and it puts everybody off, and then he does something different, and it's like it's a lack of consistency. It's a lack of frankly honest negotiation tactics, and it's just like, so next week he'll do something different. Next week he'll do something different. And maybe the next week he won't even be the president anymore. I have a heavy suspicion he might be doing all of these executive orders to push through a lot of legislations that the Republicans, or he thinks the Republicans want, or he wants done. And then he's just going to step down, or he's going to get impeached. He would step down if he found it. If it was his idea, he'll get impeached if he does all these executive orders to the point where he's irritating even the majority Republicans. Either way, it works very well for the majority Republicans, because then they can leave certain things intact, or only roll back half of the very broad executive orders he's doing, and blame it on Trump, and then have whoever they pick to be their new president, which would probably be Mike Pence, unless they impeach Mike Pence for something too. Oh, well, like I said, didn't really want to talk about it. Politics is not our game here, but it seemed like such a big thing, and it barely even touches the video game industry, other than it touches all of the industry in the United States. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. All of that helps out. If you want to support me further, go down to the list of all those social media links and friend and follow me on those. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.